Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our study on this most precious sacred word, God and God alone, delivered by Masaaki-sama on September 1st, 2022. Today, we dive into the second part of this transformative sacred word. If you joined us from the first reading, you'll remember how Masaaki-sama brought us to see a little more from God's perspective regarding harmony and God's love for each one of us. In that reading, we saw that God's actions, even those we may not understand, are always in perfect balance. Masaaki-sama shared how our trials, relationships, and even physical challenges are God bringing harmony. This understanding invited us to see beyond our narrow perspectives and align ourselves with God's vision for creation. Furthermore, Masaaki-sama shared with us how he himself is used by Meishu-sama and Kyoshu-sama to deliver his sacred word, and how he also receives the sacred word. We saw how blessed we are to have the holy seat of Kyoshu and Kyoshu-sama guiding us, since by simply studying Meishu-sama's teachings only, it is impossible to grasp the essence of Meishu-sama's sacred word. Today, in this second reading, we will move deeper into the concepts of receiving and accepting as we uncover how each experience, even challenges in our daily life, are a true gift from God. Masaaki-sama uses the example of receiving a gift to illuminate how we should approach the greatest gift God prepared for us. We will see this and so much more, so stay tuned as we begin right after this. Begin the reading today, I'd like to thank all those who have joined our sponsorship program and those who have made and are making monetary contributions. Your donations make it possible for us to hold this and many other activities to share this gospel with as many people as possible. So thank you. As we begin today's study, let us, in the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, one with Jesus Christ, recognize that it is only by God's grace and Kyoshu-sama's permission that we are able to hold these weekly studies. With hearts filled with gratitude for this permission, let us at this moment invite all our ancestors, all of humanity who live and breathe within each cell of our bodies, to participate in this study with us, acknowledging that the thoughts and feelings we experience during this study are the very thoughts and feelings that God has atoned for within each one of us. So in the name of Messiah, let us together with them return to heaven as ones who have been forgiven and saved. With this in mind, let us begin our study with the Church Canon. Church Canon. With great fear of God, we acknowledge that the Lord God is our true Father, the one and only God. We revere Meishu-sama as the model for all humanity and as our own example to follow. Meishu-sama, who was born anew as the true child of God the Messiah by receiving the divine will that God accomplished in heaven. We believe that Jesus Christ, who 2,000 years ago embodied the name of Messiah, the name most holy and high, is serving the Lord God in unity with Meishu-sama. And we regard the sacred word of Kyoshu-sama, who reveals to us the will of Meishu-sama in this material world, as the sole, absolute, and irreplaceable foundation in advancing our mission here on earth. Words of prayer. God, I acknowledge that you are alive. Within me, you are alive. I thank you for nurturing me to be newly born as your child. May this blessing be shared with all. In the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, I surrender myself to you. Please use me as you wish. Thank you very much. Every week, I choose a post from Instagram for us to have in mind during our study. If you have not followed our church's Instagram page, this is a great time to do so. All you have to do is open Instagram on your phone. Search for World Church of Messiah. Once the page opens, below the name of the page, you will see a button to click. It says follow. Click on it. But it doesn't end there. On the top right-hand corner is a bell sign. Click on it to enable notifications. Make sure to enable all notifications. By doing so, you'll be able to be updated daily and in real time when new posts are made in the Instagram page. This is a great way to align our sonen and hearts with the holy seed of Kyoshu. But don't let it finish there. This content is not meant just for us or for our well-being. Click on the share button at the bottom right-hand corner of the post. Share with your family and friends. I believe that there is no better gift one can give a loved one than the nourishment for one's soul and showing them the path to true fulfillment. So click that share button and spread the good news. You and I are here today because someone someday shared with us and showed us this path. So let us share this joy with as many people as possible. The Instagram post I chose today is great news for all of us. As many of you are aware, Masaaki-sama, Kyoshu-sama's representative, is in Brazil at this moment. He arrived earlier this week in Brazil and is preparing with all members and staff in Brazil for the service for ancestors around the world. This is so exciting. It's the first time this is taking place. The post was from a few days ago when he was leaving toward Brazil, and it reads as follows, and I wanted to share with you today. Masaaki-sama departs for Brazil. Service for ancestors all around the world is only days away. On the evening of November 11th, as Kyoshu-sama's representative, Masaaki-sama departed for Brazil from Narita Airport. On November 15th, in the land of Brazil, the service for ancestors all around the world will take place for the first time in the history of the church under the presence of Masaaki-sama. It has already been 4 months since July, when the sacred ground of soil was born in Africa, the cradle of humanity, through the consecration ceremony for the sacred ground of soil in Angola, held under the officiation of Masaaki-sama, and when the joy of our ancestors all over the world that has continued unbroken from the beginning of humanity emerged as our joy. Right now, with the deep emotion and those memories still vivid within us, the great work of salvation is about to spread even further in the land of Brazil. It is only a few days away, the service for ancestors all around the world, where members all over the world and all their ancestors unite as one, and a new era is opened. The joy of the Brazilian members of receiving Masaaki-sama is already intensifying. Let us too join the service in spirit as one heart with Masaaki-sama and serve in the work of salvation, of letting all the ancestors know of God's forgiveness. This is a truly great opportunity if you have family and friends in Brazil. if you're not able to go yourself, make sure you let them know it's happening tomorrow. It's just a day away. So we are so blessed to be a part of this and to be able to join in spirit in one heart with Masaaki-sama. We will be praying from here along with all our ancestors who together with Masaaki-sama will be participating in this service. I'm really looking forward to this, and I can't wait to receive the sacred words from the representative of Kyoshu from this very precious day. So let us unite in Sone and keep our hearts one with Masaaki-sama as the service takes place tomorrow. With this joyful heart in mind, I'd like to continue our reading from our last time together. So continuing the sacred word from Masaaki-sama, God and God alone. Last week, we stopped where Masaaki-sama was sharing about how we can receive God's will, where everything that is going on, regardless of what happens, we can say, we receive the path to be born anew as children of God, Messiah. Simply speaking, he says, I can put it even more simply. It is God's will that all of us become his children. So while there are many things that we could receive, what exactly do we receive? In one phrase, we can say, I receive God's will. It all comes down to this one point. No matter what happens, I receive this as God's will. In response, we might think something like, I understand this in theory. Well, there is a point to this receiving. I would like to explain what I mean. For example, a birthday present. There are times when we receive a birthday present. Let's say you receive something really expensive from someone, and to receive the giver's feelings, you say, oh, thank you. This must have been so expensive. The expense is not the point here, although sometimes it is. Everyone laughs. Or there is this kind of instance. The person went all the way over there and bought me this very precious gift. We are thankful for that effort. When it comes down to it, before buying a gift, before actually doing something, there is a moment the person thinks, oh, I'm going to buy that for this person. The moment before doing anything for someone important like your friend, there is the moment the person thinks, I'm going to that place to buy something for this person. It might be when they're at home or somewhere else, but there is this moment they have that thought. So when we receive the birthday present, aren't we actually happy that there was a moment the person thought about us? Although there might be some people who are even happier if it's an expensive present. Like so, when we say thank you to that person for thinking about us, that person will feel that we have received their sentiments. So the feelings of the friend and our own feelings become one, right? If not, we will end up saying, couldn't you have bought something more expensive? Or, I don't like this. Or, I want the one from the other store, not this one. When it comes down to it, it is about that thought and feeling. This person thought about me, is what we are thankful for. God is the same way. At the time when nothing existed, when there was nothing, God thought about us. What does this mean exactly? As Kyoshu-sama says, God's creation first began in heaven, where he bore us, and then through us, he prepared all creation. But with this, God has already moved into concrete action, right? As in the example I gave a moment ago, it was like the stage that you go somewhere to buy a birthday present. But just like the example, there was a stage before starting anything, a time when there was nothing, a time when really no one existed, a time when God was the only sole being. This time used to exist, everyone. Everyone, can you stop for a second? Think about this, right? Have you ever thought about the moment when God was the only one that lived? A time when only it was Him and no one else? I mean, usually when we think about creation, when we think about life, we think about everything after God created, right? But here, Masaaki-sama is bringing us to reflect on that one moment before no one and nothing ever existed. A moment when it was only God. And he says, there was a time that God thought, I will not continue to live alone. I will create children in my own likeness. And together with these children, I want to live in a world filled with joy. This joy of being a wonderful family. After God thought this, in the time that nothing existed, then all creation began. Every single creation began from that thought of God, from the thought that God had when He was all alone. Thinking about it this way, isn't this just so humbling? Now then, how did God's creation progress after that? As Kyoshu-sama says, God first prepared heaven, and there He then bore numerous souls, and the first would be Jesus. He chose one to be Jesus. In that process, He chose another to be Meishu-sama. But know that between Jesus and us, or between Meishu-sama and us, there is no who is higher or who is lower. There's a difference in roles, but we are all children of God. After that, through us, souls of God, He created the entire universe, including the earth, that is, the world of matter. This seems like a fantastical story, doesn't it? That's because it is something related to heaven, a world that is not visible. So it is hard to understand if we don't use our imaginations a little. What I believe to be important here is Meishu-sama's sacred word, the plan of God. He speaks about the time when Zuyun-kyo sacred grounds in Atami was being constructed, and in it is the way he speaks. In that famous sacred word, he says the phrase, when I was God in the earliest of eras. He said it in this way, this must be something I myself designed when I was God in the earliest of eras, planning for the future. Right now, I'm citing this accurately. Meishu-sama said it in this way. When we hear this, we are inclined to think, wow, Meishu-sama was God in the earliest of eras. But when he said, this must be something I myself designed when I was God in the earliest of eras, planning for the future, I think what is important here is that he used must be. I believe this must be is key word. Everybody, I'll take a quick break here. Pay close attention to this. This is amazing. I mean, some of us have heard this sacred word before. We are aware of this, but look what Masaaki-sama is bringing to our attention. this expression of Meishu-sama must be changes how many of us have received the sacred word for years. And look what Masaaki-sama shares with us. He says, if he said, this is something I designed, we would end with, oh, wow, that's wonderful. But for Meishu-sama to say must be means that he did not have first-hand experience of it, but he believed it surely was such that it must have been true. So when Meishu-sama thought, what a wonderful view from Zuyun-kyo, he was thinking, but in actuality, if I had received God's soul in heaven and had been one with him long, long ago, then it means that I too must have designed this together with God. So I think the meaning of this phrase must be is huge. The point is, he is implying God's own position within himself. He's saying, when I was God in the earliest of errors, I must have designed this. So we too, on this earth, when we look at a wonderful view, you can either think that you have nothing to do with its creation, or you can think, actually, in the earliest of errors, when I was one with God, when I was God, I must have designed this together with God. It's hard to flat out say, I designed this, isn't it? We have no memory of this time, right? Meishu-sama didn't remember either. Otherwise, why would he have used the phrase must be? So it means Meishu-sama believed that long, long ago, he was one with God, and at that time, he created this earth together with God. Then us too, should we simply not believe because we don't remember? How should we go about it? Just making a quick pause, right? Because this is really a huge insight for us, right? On how to receive Meishu-sama's sacred word, what Meishu-sama was showing to us. For many of us, right, we believe that Meishu-sama was expressing when he was God in the earliest of errors, and that's it. Meishu-sama was God. But that phrase must be that many of us might have looked over for such a long time, actually shows us something much deeper. Meishu-sama affirming something that he believed to be very true, and not necessarily because he had first-hand memory of that. And it doesn't end there, because as Meishu-sama is a model for all of us, a prototype for all of us, this also extends to each and every single one of us, as Masaaki-sama shares, right? We can either walk through the world and see that we have no connection with this creation whatsoever, or recognize that we too were once ones with God in the very beginning, and we're a part of that creation with God. Masaaki-sama shares, he says, Meishu-sama's way of thinking is based on this belief that God's position exists within himself. The premise that long, long ago, when I was a soul of God, I created this material world together with God. I was that kind of existence. So we too can think this. This is huge, right? This position of God exists within each one of us. Meishu-sama carried that belief and was sharing that with us, right? Or also make no sense for Meishu-sama to make it public at all, right? And to bring it out. But look at what Masaaki-sama is awakening us to. This truth that we can receive today and awaken to, right? We too were a soul of God. And we too created this material world together with God. We were that kind of existence. And we too can think this. This is huge, right? And he says, on somewhat a similar subject, do you remember Meishu-sama's sacred word from the grand ceremony to celebrate the birth of the Messiah? If there are those who do not know of it, you can find it in glory. For English, please refer to our media sites. This media site at the moment is being redesigned. So if you're interested, contact us through the comments, send us an email, and we can connect you in a way that you can receive the sacred word as well and study it. But in it, Masaaki-sama says, it was a question asked to Meishu-sama about Kenshin Jitsu, knowing the truth. The question was, can anyone reach Kenshin Jitsu if their faith is deep enough? Meishu-sama first says, no way, absolutely not. Only one person in thousands, tens of thousands of years is chosen to reach it. But after that, he says that it would be soon enough. There are evil spirits now, but in the world of Miroku, Kenshin Jitsu will no longer exist, for everyone will be able to know the truth. How you understand this sacred word is key. Will you receive this? Will you receive his first? Absolutely not. Thinking, then it's impossible. Or will you receive the last half of his sacred word? For Meishu-sama to say that Kenshin Jitsu will no longer exist, that everyone will be able to know the truth, means that ultimately everyone can reach Meishu-sama's level, the exact same level. Kenshin Jitsu will no longer exist. What could this mean? It means that God is truth itself. And not only that, God is our true form. So it's already said that anyone can come to know the truth. That's what this sacred word is saying. Everyone, this is big, right? To receive this sacred word of Masaaki-sama is to awaken to our true identity, right? Meishu-sama speaking about truth, right? This level of truth, this knowledge that Meishu-sama attained through Kenshin Jitsu. And Masaaki-sama is saying that we are in that era now where we can all come to know this truth. And what is this truth, right? God is truth itself, but it's not something, abstract that's so hard for us to reach or perceive. I'm not sure that's the word, right? It's not about that. It's about awakening to our true form as well, which is God himself, right? This is enormous. And this only stresses and shows how important the holy seat of Kyoshu is, right? As we mentioned, pretty much in every study, without Kyoshu-sama, without Masaaki-sama, would we ever have grasped this? Would we ever have been able to perceive Meishu-sama's faith, Meishu-sama's way of viewing his very existence, this true form, while here on earth, acknowledging how his relationship with God was in the very beginning, when God created everything through him? It would have been impossible, right? And today we are being made to know this. So this is really, really important, right? In this study, we not only get a glimpse at God's very thought at the very beginning, when he thought about creating us and all things, but what did he create? He created us, which are truth itself, his true form, right? When we were originally in heaven with God. That is enormous. That is so exciting to hear. And I think there's one point here before we conclude the study that is a postscript that we should be aware of that's written here. And Masaaki-sama, later in his sacred word, this is included as a proscript, and it says, then why did Meishu-sama say, no way, Absolutely not. Only one person in thousands, no, tens of thousands of years is chosen to reach that level. He says, that is because if we hear we can reach Kenshinjitsu, some, depending on the person, may get conceited and think they have reached that level solely out of self interest. For that not to happen, I believe he phrased it in such a way to caution us. It is absolutely impossible to reach Kenshinjitsu with human intelligence or ability unless one is chosen by God. That is, unless they have God's permission, it is impossible for people to recall the position of God within themselves. This is very, very important for us, right? We're talking about recalling this position of God within us. And some people say, well, it's obvious, right? God is alive within me. I think truly we have yet to grasp the true meaning of this and what it means for each one of us. And Kyoshu-sama is so patiently and with so much love, along with Masaaki-sama, bringing us to receive this truth and this permission of God. As we see here, it's not something that can be attained or understood through human intelligence or ability. In other words, without the holy seed of Kyoshu, without Kyoshu-sama's permission and guidance, we can never perceive this and recall our true self. Even more of a reason for us to receive the sacred word with hearts wide open every time they come out and really seek this truth of God and seek this will of God through them every time. We are so blessed, and I'd like to express my deepest gratitude for you joining us here today. I look forward to continuing this sacred word, this so transformative sacred word with you next time. May all honor, may all glory be returned to God always.